Hi everyone, we're the Post-Millennial Breakdown. We are 4 NYU college seniors and we are talking about everything college. Today we're talking about dating. First part is going to be about getting into the relationship, the dating process. And then the second part is going to be about once you're in the relationship. Part 1, getting into relationships, when you're single and dating. How many people have you dated in college? And this is both in terms of shorter term things where you're just talking for a while and genuine relationships, with the titles, boyfriend and girlfriend, just so we know some of our history and how experienced we are.
It's called ethos. Who are we to be giving relationship advice? We look like a couple loser virgin geeds.
Well, I was a loser virgin
geed
freshman year, but I've only had one boyfriend during college. And
Wait, what a coincidence. I've actually only had one girlfriend during college.
And we've been together since freshman year.
I've had 2 titled relationships in college and then 1 talking thing.
I've had a couple things, I wouldn't really even call them things because they weren't like any sort of prospect. It was just a consistent bang. But I've had one real relationship in college.
For all the times that you got into a relationship or a thing in college, how did it start? How did you meet them? And what did the process of getting into that relationship look like?
So, for me, Susan and I were both living in Weinstein Hall, and there was one big WhatsApp group, and she introduced herself, and I saw her, and I went... Wow! Ooga! Humana! Choo-choo! Immediately smitten. And
then he charged towards her.
No. And then I did nothing. And then I did nothing for months. Okay, other than think about her. And then finally, when I got to meet you during Welcome Week, you fed me, and I took that as a good sign.
Yeah, we were sitting next to each other on the same table for a floor dinner, and I fed him.
She said, I feed all my friends, which was something good, and then it turned immediately, really shitty. But then I kept asking her if she wanted to, come over. And she kept saying yes.
And watch SNL. We had an
SNL.
Activity to do. Because back then we liked SNL.
Did it keep very, PG? Did you just watch SNL?
Yeah, we never
okay, cool.
touched, and she wouldn't look at me.
Nice.
I got nervous. One time he got pretty close. I think he was going to open the door, but I thought he was going to kiss me, and I went, too close, and I ran off. Yeah. But I liked him.
That's very kind of you.
That's cute.
And then one night, I was like, hey, come over. I need to talk to you, with a period.
Right, and then his roommate left the room, so I knew it was serious.
And then I took 8 shots right in front of you. And then I went, can I kiss you? And then you said, yeah.
How did you guys become official?
I said, can I kiss you? And you said, yeah.
Yeah.
And did you just take that as okay, we're boyfriend-girlfriend now?
No, he asked me out on the date that same night. Okay. He got the tickets in front of me. But because Thanksgiving came up and we were apart for a week.
Yeah.
Got it.
So that's us.
Yeah, you met on the same floor. You already had her phone number because there was a group chat, and then you just asked to hang out. You hung out for a while, eventually kissed, and eventually started. Who popped the question of asking to be boyfriend?
Of course it was me.
Boyfriend and girlfriend.
You already said you loved me before.
Yeah,
okay. Are there any specific lessons that you want to pass on to people for things you learned while getting together and during that courting period?
So Shun snapped me a couple times. He did do something. But I was just so overwhelmed by college and feeling like I was going to be really bad in my major and other things that I just didn't really respond. And even in the beginning of our relationship, I was so paralyzed because I was really nervous about physical touch and whatnot that I didn't really seem like I liked him, both by not snapping him back, both by just how frigid, if that's the right word, I was. But I liked him already. I mean, at least after we met each other. I found him at least cute. Sometimes you think someone doesn't like you, but there's so many other factors that go into how someone responds to you that I would say persist if you have any hope. Just don't be creepy about it. Don't threaten them. Don't say you're going to do anything. Be super sad about it. I mean, it sucks. You might feel those things. But, kindly, patiently wait, and then they might like you, and you might be together for 3 years.
If at any point they explicitly state that they don't like you, and don't want attention from you in this way anymore, stop.
Yeah. Don't wait for them to be mean.
But rejection can take many forms, and not all of them are personal.
I had
Deed.
I'd never dated someone before college. It was, I think, freshman year, maybe second semester. Susan was like, hey, go on this double date with Shun and I. And I was like, okay, who with? And she was like, oh, my dance partner, Quinn. I had pointed him out before. When I was picturing your dance partner, I was picturing someone like your height, you know, just like
yeah.
a squanchy,
Squanchy.
a squanchy little man person.
Also,
Hey,
too,
where can a guy
I was
squanch
just-
around here?
I was just surprised by, you know, him being like a decently attractive person.
also you have a specific type, and
also,
somehow
I
you
have-
fit the exact
I guess,
type.
yeah.
Tina's into tall, skinny boys that are pretty.
Yes, okay. So that is an explanation. But anyways, it came around to the double date thing, and she was like, go on this double date, and I was like, oh, I don't know, blah, 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 blah. And then one day, I just heard a knock at my freshman year dorm, and I woke up from my nap. I was in overalls, no makeup, messy hair, and I opened the door, and Shun, Susan, and Quinn were standing there, and they were like, it's time for the double date. And I was like, what? And they were like, get ready. And we went to the Kellogg's cereal place. I'm just going into the fact that it was a horrible, like, double date. I was very tired, and I didn't want to be
Well,
there.
We had a fantastic time.
Yeah, I didn't talk to Quinn till the very end of the date. Quinn, at the end of the date, we did end up talking about, I think it was like video games, or like I mentioned my concentration at Gallatin, like artificial intelligence ethics or whatever. And then his first impression was that he was like, oh, this is a bimbo party girl, whatever kind of thing. But then when I talked about AI and video games, he was like, oh yeah, cool. And then he was like,
he was like, my lady, a female who games, 'tis a lovely thing to see. If anything, it's me who's going to be in the kitchen making you the sandwich.
and then either through text or in person, he was like, hey, that was a weird first date, that double date thing. Do you want to do a second date? And that's what we did. We got
He
brunch.
just talked to me.
We just talked
Yeah,
and stuff.
which is, first of all,
And-
rude for not inviting us.
Another thing is you don't want to lose sight of who your friends are as you're starting to court people. So just keep in mind, like, you know,
Yes.
double
Oh,
dates are
that is
fun.
definitely something we can get into. But yeah, then we
Not
got
now.
brunch, and then we went on a couple more dates. And then eventually, because I didn't want to be boyfriend-girlfriend yet, that was a lot of pressure. So he was just like, let's be exclusive. And that was basically boyfriend-girlfriend. But, you know, baby steps. So that was my first relationship. It went on for maybe like a year or so. And then eventually it ended due to differences. But that's how it started. So now we can get into, I think, the last titled
Our
relationship.
goofy fucking mess of a courtship. I first saw Tina in a
Okay.
sketch about Reese's Pieces.
Yeah. At the same exact sketch show that Christina met Quinn.
but 2
Wow.
years
No,
later.
no, no. They were
But
different.
2 years later.
Like
Yeah.
2 years later, yeah. This was fall of our junior year, so fall of 2019.
That goes back into our idea of how to make friends, join groups.
Join groups.
How to
yeah.
find boyfriends,
Join groups.
One group, that's enough.
Join Free
one-
Beer Sketch
one-
Comedy.
Yeah. Everyone upon entering Free Beer is awarded their compulsory boyfriend. I think I started talking to you. They held a party afterward on someone's roof, but I started talking to you there. I was dressed very flamboyantly in one of my long coats and scarves and stuff. So, you know, it led to something that you know, Tina thought I was gay for like 3 months.
Not just because of his appearance. You don't just see someone and be
But
like,
because
oh
of
yeah,
his
they're totally gay.
penchant for-
I mean, he is bisexual, to be fair, but one of the main reasons that I really, really thought he was gay is because when I asked Shun, I was like, hey, I'm hanging out with Sanjay. Shun was like, oh yeah, Sanjay's gay. And then I went on this, like,
Thanks, man.
Wait, I don't think I said that.
No, you did!
Did
I think
say
it's
that?
said as a meme. Like,
Oh.
And then I went and got coffee with Sanjay.
I almost shit myself because I can't drink coffee
Oh,
anymore.
and then when I went back to Shun, like, after that, I was like, hey, I'm not sure that Sanjay's gay. Like, he seems like, I'm getting, like, these vibes. And you went, no, he's gay.
Did I say that?
Yes, you did. I distinctly remember it.
but Shu knew.
What?
But Shu knew Sandra was bi.
Yeah, I didn't know
He,
that.
it was like,
The first night I slept in your bed was very weird.
Yes.
Nothing happened. I just was
Yeah.
like 3 feet away from her with an arm like
Yeah.
outstretched,
Yeah.
like vaguely on top of her because I was really confused. Like I understood she was
Is it because you're gay?
yes,
That-
actually
that's why
it
you
was,
didn't-
and I
that's why
don't
you
want to
didn't
touch a
hold her.
woman, but like I was confused because like obviously something was happening, but like she wasn't responding to any of my initiators.
It's
so
'cause
I was like, I don't want to
wasn't-
push it. Like, she hasn't said anything like
Yeah.
no. She hasn't said anything like yes. So I'm
Which
just
is great on his part, you know, listening to signals.
Weird thing is,
yeah.
Sanjay plays Super Smash Bros. But he also listens for consent. That's like the strangest thing.
like I had been so used to like hookup culture. Like I hoed around a lot freshman, sophomore year, less so junior year. But like I was very used to like, you know, you put out a basic initiator. If they bite, then like you
If
go.
they bite, you know, they like you.
Yeah, but then like if nothing happens, then you drop it and move on.
Because he slept over at our apartment, and he was originally on the couch. And then, like, I don't know, we had been, like, messaging, and then he was like, oh, something about a charger. So I went out to give him my charger, and then I went back.
I was like
and-
giving her as many opportunities to like either like be like, hey, nothing's happening,
yeah.
or start something, and nothing was happening.
Yeah, and then he was like, oxytocin is a hell of a sleep aid. Because we can, like, cuddle to get to sleep. And yeah, so I thought, ooh, why not? And then we did that weird cuddle thing. Like, there was literally enough space for, like, a body in between us, but his long-ass arm was just, like...
Oh, don't do that.
And then how did we progress from there? I left for LA at some point.
It was obvious that, like, a relationship could have started there, like, if you were going to be here in the following semester.
Yes.
But we were like, you know what, let's just not do any sort of weird exclusivity.
I left for winter break and we didn't decide to put a label on it, but then, like, at some point during LA, I was kind of like, oh, you know, I'm not really thinking about anyone else, you know, even if I go out with people, like, I'm just kind of like, oh, I wonder what Sanj is doing right now, or like, oh, it'd be fun if he was at this club right now. So then I think it gradually moved into that, and then there was one point where I just came to his house. His mom called me his girlfriend, and I was like, okay, it's official.
Yeah, she stayed at my house for like a week.
Yeah.
So it's weird. She met my family before we were dating, which was weird. But my family's like,
you're white. Both of you. Because both of you are
Yes.
white.
yeah, I mean, yeah, effectively.
So lessons to learn from that one. I would say, first of all, long distance can be a thing, at least temporarily at the very least.
Yeah.
Like, it was definitely very hard, and, like, I feel much more satisfied. There was a lot of, like, questions and doubts when, you know, we were distant.
Yeah. You know, I went into, like, these sort of shutdown modes where, like, because I wasn't able to, like, really experience the relationship, I was going numb, trying to let it go by as fast as possible. And so, like, you know, maybe I didn't,
Yeah.
you know, give her as much attention as I should have.
I
but-
think that if I could go back, though, like, maybe I would keep it as, like, the open thing that we did where we're like, okay, we're not in a relationship, I'm just gonna go abroad. But we were still talking to each other, and so that way, like, neither of us felt trapped, like, oh, I'm with this person and I can't be with them. But, like, we just were able to gradually, organically come to the conclusion that, oh, yeah, this is the person that I want to be with. Okay, dating
podcast.
apps. I tried some dating apps freshman year, and I feel like, I don't know, I know there are some, like, good cultures and good people of, like, dating apps. Like, it depends which one you use. But I guess what I don't like about dating apps from my experience is that you're just going in with this assumed, like, yes, we like each other, we're either gonna date or we're probably just, like, never gonna talk again. And there's something about it's so unorganic that personally I don't like. I know that some people can get married through, like, Tinder, though, which is crazy. I would just like to put out a PSA to, like, any freshmen using dating apps, specifically women, to be careful about the men that you're meeting up with. Like, never, definitely always meet them, like, in daylight for something like lunch. Even if it's, like, the second or third time that you're meeting up with them, I still wouldn't say, like, go to a bar with them, just because, like, there's a lot of fuckboys, I think, at NYU.
A lot of date
specifically on, like, dating apps and stuff. Even if, like, you're going someplace with them and you're like, oh, but we're going as a group, you know, they're bringing their friends. But those friends aren't necessarily looking out for you. So you have to make sure that you're bringing, like, your own friends who know that you're, like, on the same page. Like, no, I'm not going home with this person, okay?
Yeah.
So that's my advice regarding dating apps in terms of safety.
The thing I really like
Yeah.
about dating apps is you don't have to guess whether or not the other person likes you.
Yeah.
Because, like, they've already, like, put in, like, you know, the minimal effort required to be like, hey, I like that. And I never
Yeah.
really used it, like, as a romantic interest. It was mostly a sexual thing for me. There's a certain degree of, depending on the type of person you are, you kind of need to go through character development at some point and learn mistakes organically. You can't just, like, receive advice from people who are on the other side.
Except if it's about safety.
Yeah, safety is safety.
Always be
That's
open.
fair. Like,
But yes.
in terms of like what you're looking for and what you want and how you want to go about this thing, I say
Or
use
for the next section.
use
for that.
protection. Like
wear a mask.
That too. While you're fucking, wear a mask. I most certainly would have contracted like 80 barzillion STDs if I did not worn protection for my entire life. I've never had anything.
Getting flexed on.
A couple things. I was looking back to why I liked Shun and why it was a good decision to be with him. In spite of all the challenges that come with being in a relationship, which we'll dive into later. But one thing is, what does your partner think is a cool, fun weekend and an idea of a fun time? That's something that right off the bat, of course you can make a relationship work if you have drastically different ideas. If you have the same ideas, like for instance, Shun asked me to go to UCB on our first date, and I've been meaning to get into comedy, or at least consume a lot of comedy back then, so that was officially a sign that he was someone I could be with. He was also very good with music, and one of our first interactions was him going to a dining hall and offering to help me with my music homework during breakfast. So right off the bat, just knowing we had two major things in common as in our interests, and that's something you can look for in a partner. It's not gonna guarantee you're gonna find someone good, but looking back, I wish I'd been more sure earlier on. I was so scared. But looking back, I'm like, yeah, we had so much in common. Another thing is, don't label yourself as unlovable or unlikable. I know a couple people in college who've kind of decided, even Shun, that they're unlovable, and that affects someone so deeply that it's so much harder to even be in a relationship with them, but start a relationship. He's not as bad as other people, but there are other people who just, their lack of confidence and self-love indicates that they're not ready to be in a relationship, but also keeps them from meeting people. So don't label yourself as anything. You are awesome. You are perfect for so many people. And mainly if you're going to NYU or any other big university, any other big city, there is someone for you. There are multiple people for you. So don't label yourself as anything. It's going to make you less likable, and it's going to cause you a lot of pain.
Yeah. And also, like, I guess this maybe doesn't apply as much to dating so much as just, finding self-confidence in like a romantic and sexual way. Like if you're feeling particularly involuntarily celibate, figure out what type you are, and then figure out what type of person likes that type. Like, I figured out that, like, I fit into the niche of tall, skinny, like, emo boy pretty early on. And so, most of my formative early college years were shaped around me leaning into my proclivity for that stereotype, and identifying and becoming very familiar with the type of person who is into that. It gave me a lot more confidence to, pursue the real me after that. I mean, like, yes, I am a bit of a tall, skinny emo boy at times, but obviously you can't just be a walking stereotype for the rest of your life.
So an easy tip, if you really want someone's, lean into the stereotype, but also leave room to find yourself.
Yeah, obviously. Okay. I'm not saying like lean into it like full tilt, but game the system a bit. Like if you
play your advantages.
Yeah.
So, like, coming into college, I knew that I was, like, a tall, sort of skinny emo boy. And so, I put on dark makeup. I started smoking cigarettes. I started doing, like, meth so that my cheeks would get really sallow. And, it worked.
Yeah,
you gotta my personality.
Lure them in with what they're shallowly into, and then make them stay because you're such a wonderful person.
Aww, that's actually good advice.
I feel like that's what I did to you.
You think?
Like, I feel like you were initially attracted to me not for, like, who I was, but because of what I was. And then, like...
Oh, no. True. Tina's just like a fucking, like, Pokemon trainer trying to collect all the skinny tall like, boys.
I would say what really attracted me to my partner, Sanjay, is his personality, quite frankly.
Oh, well, shit. I was completely We're having... This is couples therapy, everybody.
Yeah, it's because...
We're talking. We're communicating. Look at us growing together.
There's a ton of, like, edgy, smoking guys at NYU.
Smoke comes out of them.
At NYU or whatever. There's a bunch of them. So that's not what I was like, oh, yeah, wow.
If I was 5'9", would you date me?
Yes, I still would.
5'9" sort of the uncanny valley, you know,
Yeah.
of height.
5'10", you're solid. For me, it was really the sense of humor. Like, I was very uncertain. But over winter break, like, we started texting more and more because, you know, we didn't have a lot of time to, like, get to know each other during fall. But yeah, it's like the most I've ever like
Wait,
shared.
really? Because do you remember you recorded one of your Instagram conversations and then it was just you making sounds back at each other? Is that your fire banter?
What?
No, it would be like you would like click play and then it would be one of you going boop, 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 and then you would click play on the other one and then it would be the other one going like whoa 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 whoa, whoa. Like is that
that's fire. No, it wasn't just that.
That was after
you were
we
like
were
you
in
were
a
like
relationship.
Mario characters talking to each other.
That was the
Yeah.
banter after we were in a relationship. Okay, obviously, I think superficially, yeah, what I'm attracted to, I'm like, oh, he's tall, he can play the piano. That's not like, oh yeah,
And I'm
I
tall.
want to date him.
Didn't say that.
The reason I wanted to date the person that I'm dating is because of their sense of humor at the end of the day, and just like the mental connection of while we were talking. They were just a very fun person.
That's what did it for me too. Like,
Yeah.
I never had to like slow down or like explain that this was a bit because she was always in on the bit without me even having to like convey it. And we didn't have tone of voice to do it. It was all through text. She just like knew every time.
Something else is, Shun and I were talking about it, he doesn't think he's conventionally attractive. But when you find someone, that doesn't really matter. I thought he was. I was like, square jaw. So you're going to be beautiful to the right person.
This is
Edit
cringe,
this out.
by the way.
Yeah.